Hello and welcome to Mirror Talk. We have moments where we just have to pause. Just pause and take a break and reflect on life. Remember, you are strong, you are enough, you are capable, you are blessed, and you are loved. Your moment of greatness starts now. On Reddit.com, I came across a post titled, "You Are Not Alone, How I Tamed the Monster of Depression." So I invited the author, who also runs a blog called yoursageschool.com, to share his story and experience with us. Thank you so much once again for making time out to speak with me about this very, very difficult topic.
Yes, it is. It is a very difficult topic, and not a lot of people like talking about it. So I just wanted to put my story out there, and I wanted to help people and make them feel like they're not alone. That was the main intention of the post.
Can you walk me through your story? When was the first time you experienced depression?
Well, frankly, I think I was very young the first time I experienced depression, probably in maybe the 5th grade. So it was very young. So I've been depressed on and off for a long time, almost my whole life. And because when I grew up in a kind of very unstable family environment, and that contributed a lot. So I was only child, so even when I went to school, I was more of an introvert, so I didn't make a lot of friends very easily, and all these factors contributed. So I think almost my whole life I've been suffering from some form of depression, probably.
You said you came from a troubled home or unstable home.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Without going into too much detail, I'd say it was a very emotionally unstable home. My parents had a lot of issues with each other, and that made me not feel very secure in my own house from a very young age. And so and even in school there was a lot of trouble, and that was something that I felt a lot of guilt there, and that sort of started the depression. And then there are also obviously genetic issues and things like that make it worse. So it's a combination of nature and nurture that is something that will cause it, I think.
Okay. So apart from family, what else triggered depression?
I think one of the main things was just I was bullied, probably from the 6th or 7th grade. There was a lot of bullying, and I think that really contributed to it, because when I went home, there was no stability. I didn't find a support system, and when I went to school, there was no stability, and I felt absolutely alone for many years of my life. And I think around 7th grade is when I think that was one of the worst years of my life, and I still remember it, and the scars from that year still sort of stay with me even now, all these years later. And it was really hard, because the thing about depression is you feel really alone. And you can be in a room full of people, and you can have a really good time, but you can just feel absolutely depressed. And one of the things why, when I went to a therapist the first time in my life, I still remember that was I think I was in first year of my college degree. I had a great day in college, and I talked to my friends, I had a good time, and I came back home and I felt suicidal. And there's no reason for that. I had a good day, everything was going well, my life was fine, but why was I feeling suicidal? I remember sitting on the couch and thinking, God, I just want to kill myself. And that's when I realized I needed help at that point. And that was when I went to a therapist, I talked, and sometimes it doesn't really work out. Even in my post, that was one of the main criticisms of my post, if you have read it, that I didn't talk about the therapist too much. So the therapist thing, I think I didn't want to put that in the post, because I think that's a different post. It's a complicated topic, finding the right therapist and finding the right psychiatrist. I remember a lot of comments that said, depression is it's, if you break a leg, you go to the doctor, and it's the same thing. but frankly, it's not. It's not as simple as you go to a therapist and a therapist is just going to cure you of your depression. It's you have to do a lot of work yourself, and that's something you can't get around. And that's maybe it's an unfortunate reality, but it is a reality. A medication and therapy can only get you so far.
So you talking about you doing the work to get over this depression. You doing the work to get over depression.
Yes.
Can you walk me through this system that you use for combating depression? Now, I read through your post and you made mention of like some short-term, long-term strategies.
Right.
Can you walk me through them?
Yes, I can walk you through them. So, right. So I think the first thing, the thing about depression is, it's something that, see, when I named my post, how I tamed depression, and I did that for a reason. Because I didn't say how you cure depression, because even now, even though like I'm much better than I was maybe 3-4 years ago, I still have days where I can slip right back to like having a very depressed state. So the point is, what I was trying to make was, you need to have a system where you can recover from those setbacks. And you need to understand that it's a long journey, and many times you're going to feel like you're back in square one, and that's going to feel very disappointing and very disheartening. But when you have the system, it's something you can fall back on. It's your own support system when your willpower is just giving out. And that's the worst part of depression. So when your willpower is just giving out, you need something, you need like a set of things that, okay, I don't have to think anymore. I don't have to worry about what my next thing is. I have these rules that I can just follow, that I've created myself, and I'm going to go through it. So that was the idea behind the system to combat depression. So I can walk you through it.
Yes, please.
So the first one was identify negative triggers and thought patterns. The thing of right. So the thing about that is, depression is what you do in depression is you start ruminating. That basically means you start going over things again and again, and those are usually like the worst parts of your life, or when you felt the worst, and you just repeatedly do that for a long period of time, and that makes it worse. So you relive like that, the most embarrassing time of your life. You relive that, the point where you felt like a failure, or you felt like you failed at something, or you embarrassed yourself. So you need to find out what those thought patterns are, and you need to figure out a way to identify them. Because when you identify them, you can be like, okay, look, this is what's happening. I'm going back into this thought pattern and I'm just repeating it again and again and again, and I need to stop doing that. So this is the depression talking. So that's the first thing. You identify it, and even if you can't stop it immediately, it's fine. Just knowing that you're going into the spiral is important. So that's the first short-term thing.
And that in that way, identifying your negative triggers.
Yes.
You made mention of like keeping a journal.
Yes, keeping a journal is very useful, especially if your depression is pretty bad, because a lot of the time you think you can identify it, but then you start forgetting like what exactly the trigger is. So when you write it down, you sort of crystallize it, and you see a pattern that starts to emerge after maybe a month or so, and you know, oh, so this is what is sending me into the depression spiral. Something that you don't realize, like if you think of, because it's not in your head, because you don't keep the thought in your head. When you write it down and you immediately feel it, it crystallizes much easier.
So the next one is exercise.
Yes, exercise. Exercise is, I think, it could be one of the most underrated things, but I think it's one of the most important things. Just go out. You need to get your body moving. The thing which we do, like most of us, the way we live our lives is like we're always in front of the computer, we're always doing something sitting down. So our bodies are like full of all this energy, like and our minds are just exhausted all the time. So when you're getting out and exercising, you have all these positive hormones that are going into your head. You're getting yourself out of your head. That's the most important thing. Because when you're depressed, you're stuck in your head constantly. But when you're exercising, you're so tired that now all your insight is focused on your body. It's not focused on what's happening in your head, and you're not constantly going over the negative things. So those are the things I think which are relatively easy to implement in the short term.
Yeah.
So that's why I put that under short term.
Then you move on to the medium term goals or system.
Right. Then we move on to the medium term things. So this is like after you feel like, okay, you got over the worst of it. Like you survived the first couple of days of that depression or the week or however long it is. And you're feeling a little bit better and you can do a little bit more. And for that, the first thing is set clear goals for yourself. So the idea behind that is a lot of people who are depressed, they become depressed and they don't have like a good idea of what they want to do in their life or where they're going forward because they're so stuck in the past. And that's what depression is. It's you spend your whole life obsessing about past mistakes, past problems, and you're just living your life in the past. So when you set goals for yourself in the future, you pull yourself out of that past. You don't spend so much time on what you did wrong in the past. You start focusing on what you can do in the present and how you can make your future better. And setting clear goals for yourself will really help in that.
Yeah, I have a little question there. It might sound very stupid, but I don't know if you could assist me with this question.
Yes.
And it is, you said we should set clear goals for ourselves.
Yes.
And how can one set like a very clear goal or a very realizable goal for each of ourselves? Because sometimes we set these goals with the intention that we can do this, I can achieve this greatness. But then if we don't achieve that goal, it could make us go back to square one and then take us deep down into depression again because we're not able to attain that goal we set for ourselves. So how do I set that goal, a clear goal for myself that I can realize?
Right. So that's a great question about setting maybe goals that are too big or too abstract and you don't know how to start. How do you even start that goal? And maybe you don't reach it because the steps aren't very clear. So that's when we come to this next point, which is aim for small victories. So what you need to do is you have a big picture goal that you want to achieve, whatever that is. And then you need to take that goal and break it up into the smallest possible thing which you can do, which is what is that one thing I can do today, one task I can do today that will take me slightly more forward toward my goal. And you just focus on that task. And those are the small victories you want to build on. Not the the goal that is a year down the line or 2 years down the line. It's what can I do today?
Yeah.
And when you have those daily goals that you can finish in a day or finish in 2 hours or 1 hour, those are the things that will add up and will help you reach that goal in the end. And those are the things that will take you through the day and through the year and it'll help you sustain yourself. And it sets up a sort of cycle of positivity because like in depression, you're in a cycle of negativity and you're obsessing about negativity constantly and how everything is going to go wrong and how you're going to fail at it. So once you have these goals and you start racking up these small victories, they can be really small things. Like just making your bed in the morning if you're really depressed. That's your goal. Just do that for one day. Don't do anything else if you're too tired. Just make your bed and get back into your bed and just sit. And that's fine. That's as small as it can be if your depression is really bad. Because I've had days where it's been that bad, where just getting out of bed was a nightmare. So that can be a goal for you. Make your bed, have a shower, and come back and just lay in bed. And be proud of yourself that you did that. Because depression is hard. It's not easy.
Just to digress a little bit, you said depression is very hard. And in your post, you talked about this feeling of hopelessness.
Yes.
And you said it's not just the pain, but the hopelessness is like much more bearing.
Yes.
So can you talk about that feeling of hopelessness?
Yes. So the pain, at least for me, and this is maybe subjective, I don't know, but for me, the pain and the depression was not the worst. It was this almost oppressive feeling. It was the whole it's like you're drowning in an ocean. And you're just being crushed on all sides. You're isolated and there's no way out. You don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. That is what really gets you. Because you can survive pain if you know it's going to end in a week. Even if you know, look, I have to suffer for the next 6 months, but after that I'll be fine. Right? You can probably survive that.
Yes.
The thing about depression is you don't know if it's going to end, when it's going to end, or how it's going to end. And that's when suicide becomes a real problem. Because you need to just give up one time. You can fight that battle like 1,000 times, and you give up one time and you can die. And that's a serious issue. That's a serious problem.
Wow.
And the,
Wow.
and that was actually one of the most important things I wanted for this post. And I didn't want to delve too much into the negatives of depression, because I wanted to give people that and tell people, there is hope. And I know your depression right now in your head is telling you there is no hope. And this guy is just talking crap. He doesn't know how depression actually feels and how hard it is to implement any of these things. And I know how hard it is. I know how it's like to slip back. But what I'm telling you is, you have to have faith that there is hope, even if you don't see light at the end of the tunnel. It's there. And you just need to take it one day at a time, one step at a time.
Having hope
Yes.
helps you to pull yourself back when you are losing the battle, or when it seems like you're losing the battle to depression.
Yes.
To depression.
Yes. It helps. It definitely helps. Because when there is no hope, why do you want to continue? Right? That's a question that will come in your head. Like, if I'm going to spend the rest of my life depressed, like, why do I even want to continue this? It's easier to just like give up at that point, if you feel there is no hope. So that hope is the one thing that keeps you going, and that's the thing that depression crushes most of the time, and that's the hardest thing to combat. So you need something to fall back on, and you need those goals that it gets better.
I wanted to ask that how do you get hope in your own case? Like, what gives you hope?
That is an interesting question. What gives me hope? It's also a pretty tough question. What gives me hope? I think it's because I've done it so many times at this point. I think I've fallen back so many times into that space of no hope, and I've recovered, that I know that recovery is possible. And I know I can fall back on all these ideas. This is basically the system which I was talking about. This is my fallback, right? This is my safety net. So I know, look, even if I feel hopeless today, all I have to do is make my bed. And if I'm at that space right now, I just have to make my bed today. And that's it. And that's where I start from. I'm going to start building again. I'm going to start rebuilding it again. And it's hard when you have those setbacks and you're back to square one, and you feel like, oh my God, I did like 3 years of all this work and I was doing so well, and now I'm back to the place where I can't get out of bed. And that is very disheartening. But don't give up. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's why people who have depression and have other mental illnesses are some of the strongest people I know, because they know what it's like to get up and fight yourself and fight your own mind and fight your own brain. It's not an easy thing to do. And that builds a lot of character, that builds a lot of inner strength. And you have to get back in those setbacks, from those setbacks.
That's very brilliant. I mean, one has to I should not give up. I should not give up on myself. Don't give up on hope. You always have that hope that you can bounce back from whatever low point or whatever setback one has.
Have faith in yourself. Even if you don't feel like you can have faith in yourself, even if you don't believe it, still have faith. Maybe you just need to find something in yourself that says, you know what, like, I don't care about depression at this point. Whether it's anger, whatever it is, you need to hate that depression or you need to make peace with it. You need to find something inside yourself that makes you get back up. And do just that one thing. Do the easiest thing you can do. And then start from there.
So let's talk about the long-term system of combating depression.
Yes.
That's been working for you.
So, the sixth one is be prepared for setbacks and failures. And that's what we were talking about all this time, that you have to be prepared. Like, I'm not going to paint a rosy picture and tell you, you know what, it's going to go away. Like, you beat it one time, it's gone. You're going to slip back. But every time you beat it, it will get easier to pick yourself up again. It won't be as hard as it was the first time. Because you know the journey that you have to take now. And, just be stubborn and just go for it. Don't give in, even if it feels like even if you feel like you should. And after that, create systems, routines, and plans that will help you recover. And you don't have to follow my system, because this is subjective and this is what worked for me. Create something that works for you and something that will help you go through the day. That's why I took some of the easy things, like make your bed, get some sunlight, eat healthy, things which are relatively easier to do. So do things like that, and that's how you'll sort of build your own system that actually helps you.
One has to find his or herself and build a system that fits is our personality,
Right.
for
This is
example.
just a general guideline, like make your bed, get some sunlight, eat healthy, but you can add things in, you can take things out, do what makes sense for you. But there are some important things like finding passions for yourself and finding, like, for example, something that you can really sink into and you can really lose yourself in, even if it's like maybe you enjoy a sport or you enjoy playing chess or you enjoy something that you can just forget about everything else and you can just be completely focused. And it can be hard when the depression is the worst, but if you can find something that can distract you, that will be very helpful.
Yes, that's very good. Like one should find a set of routine that makes one happy.
Right. And these are the more long-term things, and it was specifically for the long-term things. Because if this depression is very severe, and I tell you to do some of these long-term things, you're going to be like, "Come on, none of this is going to work. What are you talking about? I can't do stuff like this. I'm just too tired." And I understand that. So start small. You don't have to start from the short term, get to the medium term, and then slowly incorporate this into your life as time passes.
And the ninth one is like, as you mentioned earlier, gives a sense of hope. The ninth one gives a sense of hope. It says depression is not a weakness, right?
Yes.
That's hope already. That's hope in words, in sentence.
That's always been my personal way I look at life. I don't like to look at life as being a victim of something. I feel that disempowers me. Why should I give other people control of the way I think or the way I feel? I don't want to feel powerless in front of the world. Frankly, I feel I refuse that. And I would rather think of myself as someone who's stronger because of all the adversity that I've faced, rather than give other people the opportunity to tell me, you know what, like he's a victim of this and like he's weaker because of this. You're stronger because of this. You're not weaker. Don't ever think you're weaker or you're worse because of this. That's not, the victimhood mentality is not going to help you in many parts of life.
One has to like really have that mindset that, yeah, I'm not weak.
Even, yes, I'm more than I'm not weak. I think it's more that I'm not a victim. Look, adversity is going to hit you, and luck is going to be bad, and you might get dealt a bad pair of hands in life, and life is not always going to go your way. But like, for example, if you read a lot of stoicism and things like that, you'll understand like life is hard, but it's how the only thing you can control is your inner self. You can't really control the circumstances around you. So you have to learn to control yourself and your inner self, and you have to learn to grow from that.
Talking about controlling yourself, the next point is forgiving yourself.
Yes. I think,
yeah. How do I forgive myself?
That is something I think I learned later in life, and that actually helped me a lot with my depression. Forgiving myself. Because a lot of depression is being too hard on yourself. You're constantly berating yourself. You're finding all the faults that make you a weak person, and you don't give yourself the same kind of leeway that you give other people. You're more gracious to other people. You're more willing to forgive other people, but you're never willing to forgive yourself. At least for me, that's how it was. I was very hard on myself, and that always made the depression much harder, because I was like, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep falling back like this? So you need to forgive yourself and realize it's going to take time. It's fine, and you're awesome. And don't be so hard on yourself all the time. It's not worth it.
So how do sometimes we hold grudges with ourselves because of things we've done in the past, mistakes or whatever, like we messed up in the past. How do we let go of all of this easily? As in, it's very easy to say, but I do like very practical tips on how to let go of those bad things or mistakes we've done in the past.
That's an interesting question. How do you let go of the mistakes? Well, one, you need to realize that you're human, right? So all humans make mistakes. You cannot expect perfection from anyone, including yourself, and especially not yourself. So there's no reason to expect this absolute perfection. Of course, you're going to make horrible mistakes in life. That's okay. That's what makes you human. To make those mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and you might make those same mistakes again. You might screw up again. That's fine. That's part of being human. You have to learn to find that guilt and just give yourself a hug. Go back in your head and look at that child or that adult or whoever or whatever in your mind is like just completely wrapped up in all this negativity and self-hatred, and just say, and just look at it with love and figure out a way to realize that people just aren't perfect, and that's okay.
It's okay to make mistakes once in a while. You learn from your mistakes.
Yes, even if you're making mistakes more than once in a while, that's fine too. Even if you feel like you make mistakes all the time, that's fine as well. Just learn to not make those mistakes again and learn to be forgiving to yourself. Don't get emotionally caught up in just hurting yourself constantly, because constant mental abuse to yourself is not going to help you. It's not going to make you feel better.
And then the next one is like, we should not allow the depression to define us. Like,
this was actually something that I think my therapist told me, that I shouldn't allow my depression to define myself. That I shouldn't spend my time thinking of myself as a depressed person. Because then if you define yourself as I am a depressed person, it becomes very hard to get away from it. So you need to realize you're so much more than somebody who has depression. Sure, you have this issue, you have this illness, but that's not what makes you you. There's so much more to a person than just like some illness that they might have. And that's something you need to realize.
It's so much more to a person than the illness, than depression. And one has to just focus on the positive part, on the positivity that is, or the things that are working for the person in his or her life.
Yes.
That's very brilliant. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. I really appreciate this. I've learned like a lot from you already.
Thank you so much.
So can you just briefly tell me about your blog?
Yes, I started the blog right after the pandemic hit, and like I couldn't continue in my job anymore. I used to do marketing and content writing for a travel company, but because of the pandemic, like the whole thing shut down. The whole travel industry was done. So like I figured out, like I said, adversity hits you. So I needed to figure out what I have to do in life. So that's when I started I started learning how to program and code, and doing a course on that. And I also started my blog. And the blog is mostly about like productivity tips, mental health stuff, a lot of things like which will help you like grow as a person, and and my journey, and how maybe I can inspire you to be a better version of yourself.
I was going through the blog and I was saying something like how to help people like gain skills, for example, and how to gain skills that will help you personally, like as you talked about earlier, setting clear goals or developing systems, or not being intimidated, and going from unmotivated or lazy to being assertive and articulated. And I find that very, very brilliant.
Thank you so much. And hopefully it's helpful for like many people.
Yes, I hope so. So I'm going to place a link to your blog, yoursageschool.com, in the show notes for this episode. And I encourage all my friends out there to please visit the website, subscribe to the newsletter, and you always get newsletter and exclusive materials from him all the time. They are very helpful for personal and for professional growth.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I am eternally grateful for your time, your love, and contributions. You mean a lot to me. Thank you once again for listening and sharing with your loved ones. Don't forget to subscribe and follow this journey on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other platforms in the description. Stay blessed.